Hey there, I'm Piper,
And I'm Matt.
and this is Two Ghouls, One Podcast, where we like to discuss all things current, obscure, and classic.
And today we thought it'd be fun as an introduction to give you our top 5 favorite horror movies of all time.
So let's get into it. So, for my top 5 list, and disclaimer for the people listening, we do not know what the other people, like what the other person's top 5 is going to be. So, this is going to be news to each of us. So my first one on the list, and this is in no particular order, is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 remake. Bit controversial, but I do love it. If you don't know what it's about, if you live under a rock, it's about 5 friends who are on a road trip, and in the middle of Texas, they come across a hitchhiker where essentially things take a turn for the worst.
That's a one I need to rewatch. Everybody is talking about it, and I remember liking it a good bit, but not enough to put it in a top 5, 10, 20.
That's fair. I feel like the majority of the time people are probably more into the original, which is fair. I've heard people call the 2003 one a MTV horror,
Mm.
which I think that might even be where I first saw it, was on MTV back in the day.
It's Jessica Biel, right?
Yeah, in the classic white tank top that they really liked to put the final girls in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I remember that being a thing pretty constantly.
Yeah.
But I I'm not big on the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's not sacred to me. So watching the remake could be fun.
Yeah, I certainly enjoy it. I'm not the biggest fan of the original either. I kind of feel like the characters in the original are a little insufferable at times.
I
Don't really care
distinctly
for
remember that.
Yeah, I don't really care for Sally as a final girl. Uh, I don't know, and I appreciate it. I have a lot of respect for it. It did huge things for the horror genre, but still not one of my favorite movies.
So is the 2003 one gory? Is this one actually gory?
Yeah, I would say this one is pretty gory.
Because the original isn't that bloody. It's just so gross and gritty and dirty looking that your brain is it's fucked up, but nothing really bad, by today's standards anyway, is in it.
Yeah, I think the original is one of those movies where you're just like, I can tell everything there. It stunk like ass, you know, like
What's Texas?
yeah, like heat of the summer. I know it smells bad on set, which it did. If you've seen any of the behind the scenes stuff, it did smell pretty vile on set because they couldn't afford to like wash anything because they couldn't get more than the one costume for people and stuff, so they
Mm.
just had to keep putting on the same outfits every day and just nastiness.
Yeah, I'll revisit that one. I'll add it to the list of all these remakes that have been discussed lately that I need to get back and revisit.
Give them a chance.
Yeah, another day in court. Because I wasn't big on any of the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, to the point where I don't hate the 2022 one.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan of that one.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's not good, but the others are so not sacred to me that one is just fine. It goes along with all of them.
You're like, they're all just mid to me.
Yeah,
uh,
what's so bad about that one?
well, it's funny to me anyways. A little backstory into I guess why I like this movie so much. So I first saw it at my grandma's, and my younger cousin was with me. We watched it, and I had throughout my life, I always thought my dad only had one brother, which he has like a ton of sisters. And I thought, okay, he only has one brother. And I knew that it was his stepbrother. Turns out he has a half brother that I just didn't know about because the half brother had spent a large portion of his time in prison. And so one day I was at my grandma's and like a different grandma, and she was like, well, here's your uncle. And I was like, what? And that's kind of how I found out about him, as he had been released from prison and had went to visit his dad and stepmom, so my step grandmother. And I only saw him that one time. I was like 10 years old, introduced to him, and then he got sent back to prison. So I only had this one very vague memory of my uncle. Uh, and so my younger cousin, who it would have also been her uncle, and she'd never met him. Um, there's a guy in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the '03 one, who has glasses and like dark curly hair. And he looked in my child mind so much like my uncle that I can never watch that film and not associate that like that guy looks just like my Uncle Carl. I even like told my cousin, I was like, yeah, that's what Uncle Carl looks like. And like it was pretty uncanny though. Like my Uncle Carl looked like that guy. I don't know. And for years I didn't see him again because he went back to prison. So in my mind, I couldn't really picture my uncle. I could just picture the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre as being my uncle. So I don't know. That's just funny to me. I don't.
I miss Uncle Carl. I guess I'll watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, a little family reunion.
Whoever out there is writing your biography appreciates that rant too.
Yeah, get some
There's the
juicy
Uncle
beats.
Carl chapter for y'all.
Yeah. All right. So
You
what's
want me
your?
to do my number 5 now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Wait,
no.
wait. I was
What?
gonna ask, are they in any particular order?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I couldn't do it. I just went with like probably my most watched because I am super indecisive.
No, I have my top 100 movies on Letterboxd,
You do.
and I just picked the first 5 horror that appear.
You have your shit together, man. At least in this
Letterboxd is
situation.
the only organized thing in my life.
Yeah.
My number 5, nobody reminds me of an uncle or aunt or anything, but it's the Blair Witch Project.
All right.
Basically, 3 film students are doing their class project on the Blair Witch in Burkittsville, Maryland, and they go and interview the townsfolk and then go out into the woods and try and find locations from the lore, and supernatural forces may be afoot. And it is not the first found footage. Uh, anybody on TikTok, if you call this the first fucking found footage movie, they will be in your comments correcting you. That's Cannibal Holocaust, but this cat is in heat, and it is not fun.
Your cat and I have that in common.
Oh, where's Uncle Carl when you need him?
Yeah.
Prison. Um,
Most of the time.
so I like this movie because I was alive during the marketing campaign,
I was going to ask if you remembered that.
and everybody thought it was real. I was like 14, so I was like, that can't be real. But the documentary came out. I don't recognize any of these actors. Maybe it is real. So it had that whole lore within a lore going for it.
They like gaslit you into thinking.
Yes. It was on Sci-Fi Network. Like it was a whole thing. A book came out that like
Damn.
chronicled the missing kids. And then later, after I knew it wasn't real, it was still fucking freaky. This is the only
Mm-hmm.
movie that has ever like scared me. Like I was sitting there alone, lights off, like 28 years old, and I decided to watch it again, and it freaked me out. Like I had to go turn the lights on. So
You're like,
that's why I made the list.
I'm never going into those fucking woods. Like,
No, like even in the woods, if I'm in there too long, like I'm like that tree's the same fucking tree, and people are like, no, it's not. Like we're fine, Matt.
like you don't know the difference between a spruce and a pine, you idiot. Like, I
Yeah,
gotta,
I need breadcrumb trails and shit so I don't lose my mind.
yeah, like a little rope and just
Yeah,
follow it
yeah,
back. Uh,
perfect.
yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't really care for Blair Witch. I don't like found footage and shaky cam type stuff. I know it was like a big thing back in the day, which I think I was like 5 when the movie came out, so I definitely have no memory of like the marketing and stuff. Which I do think is like pretty cool that they did that. Like they went way into the marketing for this film, which I think really is what cemented it into the you know the cultural zeitgeist, you might say. Um, but I don't know, it's just not for me. I feel guilty when I say that because I know so many people enjoy it. Uh,
I
if
mean,
I
I get
were
it.
if I were to give it some praise though, uh, I don't know, when I was a kid I thought that like I was pissed. Like I watched the whole movie thinking we were going to see this witch and we didn't, and I was like, that's so stupid, like what a waste of time. But then as an adult I watched the remake, and at the end they do show like the witch or whatever it is, and it was lame. I was like, actually, they did a better job at not showing you the witch, because then you can let your imagination run wild and you can kind of, they say that your imagination is scarier than anything anyone else could create. So
Yeah,
sometimes it is better to leave stuff kind of, you know, um, like not obscure, but what's the word I'm looking for? Just like,
ambiguous.
yeah, ambiguous. So people can kind of come up with their own conclusion of what she looks like.
You were supposed to see something when she's running and she's like, "What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?" There was a dude out in the woods dressed in all white with like a
Mm-hmm.
light shining on him to make him glow, kinda. And she was supposed to turn and get him, but she turned and didn't go far enough, and he never came into frame.
Oh,
And it was like all wet and shit. So the guy they hired, they were like, "Hey, we didn't get it." And he's like, "Well, I'm
too fucking
done."
bad.
Like,
Yeah. Like
so
it's wet and cold and I'm going home.
yeah, he's like, "I don't give a shit about your stupid little movie. Give me my $300 and I'm going home."
Damn, nobody from like the crew would have like taken that L and been like, you know what, I'll wear the white dress. Like,
Yeah, and I think it's more dread. Like, there's
mm-hmm.
not a lot of scare in there. I guess like the kids like voices when they're shaking the tent and shit. I guess that's supposed to be like scary.
Yeah.
But I think it's like the escalation of dread that does it for me.
To be fair, I probably should give it a rewatch
I mean, if you
because
don't like found footage, it's not the one that's going to convert you.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad you like explained the marketing, like how hard they went for it, because I knew that they did kind of fake that, like, oh, I don't want to call them kids. They were adults, like the young adults
Yeah,
from
like
the
college
film.
age.
Yeah. Um, that went missing, and there was this whole thing. But I had no idea that it was like there was a book, and that there was like a documentary that aired on sci-fi and shit like that. Like I had no clue that it went that deep, and
Yeah.
my whole life I've just been like, how ridiculous, because like I don't know, originally the concept of, well, of course they're not going to take essentially, like, if two people, well, three people go missing, they're not going to take the family's not going to sign off on them being like, yeah, use the last footage of them
Mm,
to make this movie that you're going to put in a thing. Like, that would be extremely disrespectful.
yeah.
So my whole life I've just been like, how dumb was it that people fell for that? But I think if I was seeing it even on like TV and stuff, I would be like, I don't know, and like eventually it would probably convince me as well that they went
Yeah, like the
missing.
trailers were barely trailers. It was like three teens are missing in Burkittsville, Maryland. Like, they might be alive, they might be dead. Go watch the last footage.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, is that real? And like the actors weren't appearing on talk shows and shit until it had been out.
Didn't they even like they really didn't even go out. Like they tried to just stay in their houses
Yeah,
until
they
so
didn't
that
want
no
like a
one could just
neighbor to
see
be
them on the
like,
street.
yeah, like, oh, that's Heather, she's fine, never mind.
Yeah. Like I caught a glimpse of her on my Polaroid camera because back then, you know. Um, but yeah, that was actually really interesting to find that out.
What is your number four?
All right. I don't know. I don't want to call it a number four
What's your
exactly,
next
but
one?
yeah, well, because mine's in no order. I don't have my letterbox perfectly curated like Matt does. Uh, I'm sensing a theme here, at least in like this one, like the previous one and this one. The 2006 remake, Hills Have Eyes.
I should have
So,
known.
so same plot as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, essentially, where you have a family going on a road trip. Only they, is it Arizona or Nebraska? It's Nebraska, right? Where they go missing.
I thought it was Arizona where they did all the nuclear testing.
Ah, shit.
They might have
Um,
done it in Nebraska too. I don't fucking know.
but they essentially go on a road trip, and then they find themselves. Got to get that sponsorship in there. Nothing better than a Monster Energy drink.
Monster talking about monsters.
Yeah. But they find themselves taking a road less traveled, we will say, and wind up with a flat tire or a few flat tires, and soon come to find out that while stuck in the I think it's the Nevada desert, that they are not alone. I think the 2006 remake is much better than the original. I like all due respect to the original because, again, I do think it did a lot for the horror genre, but something about that '06 one, man, and you just see these people that have been completely disfigured and stuff by the nuclear weapon testing and such that took place there. Uh, they were just vile looking. I mean, it was rough. I don't know. It just hit for me, and I will say that when the movie came out, I was about 12 years old, and I did have me a little crush on Dan Bird, who was the son in that movie. So may have influenced it a little bit. Uh, I think it's easily my most watched horror because when it came out, not in theaters, but to like television, there was like a span of 2 months where it was just on, I believe, Stars, maybe,
Mm.
but one of those movie channels where it would air like every day and I would just pop it on. Like if I was scrolling the TV guide and I saw it on, I was popping it on, cleaning the house, like doing whatever. Um I don't really have like a huge justification as to why it's my favorite or it's on my top 5, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember liking it a lot, and I actually saw it before the original.
Same.
And when I watched the original, I was like, "This sucks."
It's
Like
so
not because it's
weak.
bad, but because like they did it so much better in the remake.
Yeah. It's always in my list of like remakes that are better than the originals.
Yeah, that's I'd like to talk to somebody who disagreed with that, like
Yeah.
because it's they ramp up the gore, they ramp up the scares, they ramp up the carnage. It's better shot, better cinematography. It's just all around a better fucking movie.
They ramp up the sexy younger brother, so says 12-year-old me. Uh
Yeah.
but yeah, cuz in the original they aren't deformed or anything. They are just people who went out into the hills. The I guess the leader of the cannibals in the original,
Hmm.
he took a local sex worker, and I don't think it like divulges too much into. I mean, I guess she had to have been there willingly at some point, or maybe she would have left, or maybe she couldn't leave. But her she gives birth to all of these offspring, and they're just normal people aside from the fact that they are cannibals. But who isn't these days a cannibal? uh but
Yeah.
they're just, the look of them isn't very scary, which might be more
What color ribbon
terrifying.
is that to support cannibals? What color ribbon are you supposed to wear? Like flesh tone?
Yeah, probably that, or like maybe like a deep blood red of some
Oh,
sort.
okay.
Cannibal Awareness Month. When's
Yeah.
that?
Pro- Probably Easter, March, April.
Yeah, I would
'Cause
have
that's when
went.
you eat Jesus, right?
I would have went October because like spooky times.
No, October's like Arbor, right? Like,
Oh, actually, I think October, like to be real for a minute, I'm pretty sure October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So
oh, okay.
maybe I'm just an asshole, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, what's your fourth on the list?
My fourth is Freaks from 1932, 31, 32.
Oh, okay.
The Todd Browning ruined his career movie,
Should have
but
made his career.
it should have. But that was, oh, it was 30, 32 or 33 because Dracula was 31 and that was him too. Um,
Oh, okay.
but Dracula like put him on the map and then he got to make Freaks and everybody was like, get the fuck out of here. Um, but basically, you follow a carnival and the strong man and one of the girls that works there falls in love with the strong man, and they have a plot to take the ringmaster, who is a little person, take his money by pretending that she is in love with him, but she's really with the strong man, and so breaking his relationship up with another little person who helps run the carnival, and that it's notorious because it used, or infamous or whatever, because it used actual sideshow freaks.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget what they're called, but like the siblings that all look the same that have their head shaved except like a little baby doll knot.
Oh, I
There's a
know
name for it.
the not very PC name for them are the pinheads.
Okay.
Yeah, are those?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
assume.
Which I'm guilty of not knowing like the actual name of the condition in which those people have, but yeah, back in the day they were referred to as like pinheads.
Okay. So yeah, they have a few people like that in it. They have a man who has no arms or legs, but is still able to roll and light a cigarette. So
Adapt and
that's fun.
overcome.
But what I like about this movie is it takes people who society would think are the monster, the sideshow freaks, and they end up being the heroes and the victims of the story. And the pretty people, the pretty socialite girl, and the strong man are who are the actual monsters.
Yep.
So it's great social commentary. Whoever the fuck says horror is woke now and it used to not be is fucking stupid.
I agree. It's always
Um,
been woke.
it has Dracula, Frankenstein, everything. It's all social commentaries. But yeah,
Yeah.
freaks.
Uh my little bit about freaks. I do know, which I'm sure you know as well, but in case anyone listening isn't aware, um, that the surviving footage of it is not in full. I guess it was meant to be a longer movie and they cut a lot. Uh, just the censorship of it, it wasn't very approved of back in the day. I love how I didn't correlate that the same that like Todd Browning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't correlate that he did Dracula and Freaks. So that's interesting. He's like, "You like Dracula? You're gonna love this." And then, boy, was he like sideswiped by that. Uh, but I do agree with you. I think it was very progressive. And if you watch it now, you might not think so. But if you put yourself in the mindset of people during the 1930s, sideshow like freak shows were very relevant at the time still. Uh, and what Todd Browning did was he gave jobs to like he allowed them to be actors.
Mm-hmm.
He highlighted that they are capable of things other than being like a quote unquote like laughing stock and to be poked fun at, to take them seriously. And he did put them in a role which you said well of where they are the heroes and the good guys. They do something maybe a little messed up at the end, but I think it's deserved. It was a revenge kind of thing, and she got what was coming. But
Definitely.
yeah, and I know that final scene, which I don't want to spoil anything because maybe a lot of people haven't seen that one where it's pretty old.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like 100 years old almost, but it's
yeah,
like I still don't want to spoil it because just not a lot of people know about it.
yeah. So I mean, but the final scene was pretty depraved at the time. People were not okay with it. I would say that I mean I don't know. I wasn't alive then, but I would say that was a lot of the issue with for people is that they did not like the end scene. I mean, back in the day, they probably just didn't like seeing people with any kind of differences
Yeah.
highlighted in a good way, anyways. But I know that ending scene was extremely controversial.
Yep. What's your next remake?
It's not a remake this time. I actually don't have any more remakes on the list.
Okay.
Uh, I don't know why I decided to start the list with two remakes. Um, this one is Wrong Turn, which not, I would never include this in like a list of the best horror movies, but God, I love it. So Originally, well, I'll start with the explanation of what the movie is in case no one's seen it. Uh, Damn, this one's a road trip gone wrong too. There's a
Yeah,
theme here.
there is. You
I
definitely
I
like road trip gone
I
wrong
re-
movies.
I really enjoy like early 2000s road trip horror.
You like
Apparently,
cannibals a lot too.
I do. I love a good Oh, they are all cannibals. You know what? Whatever.
You definitely have a type.
I like what I like. So, uh, essentially, some friends are on a road trip. I'm telling the same damn story every time. Okay, okay. Some friends are, guess what they're doing? They're on a road trip, and guess what happens? They take a wrong turn. They
Ooh.
also end up with flat tires. Uh, Come to find out that it was again just a ploy to get their cars to break down. They find themselves essentially picked off one by a family of cannibals.
Huh.
Damn, I'm learning things about myself.
Oh, and it has Eliza Dushku in a white tank top.
Yes, yes, you got to get the white tank top girly in there. She was. This was kind of like in during the height of Eliza Dushku's career. She had just come off from. Oh my gosh, it's the cheerleading movie. Bring it on! And she'd also done The New Guy.
Oh
I at
yeah, she
least
was in that.
yeah, she was at least in those two. She probably did more than that too, but
She was Faith in Buffy. That's what I knew her from.
yeah.
She was
So
in, I think after that, though, she was in one of the Jay and Silent Bob movies.
oh,
Strike
she
Back, maybe?
was. Yeah, it was Striked Back cuz she played one of the activist women.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um which they weren't actually activists, were they? They were just like burglars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to spoil that movie for you if you haven't seen it, but yeah, I just Wrong Turn, it takes place, or is, it's meant to take place in West Virginia. I originally am from West Virginia, so as a kid I did like that aspect. Like, it's fun to, as a horror fan, have horror that takes place in your state. um I don't even think I have to justify myself at this point. We all know I love a good inbred cannibal deformed, like, it's my jam,
It's because you
okay?
miss your Uncle Carl.
Yeah. But I don't know. I thought it was so cool to see, like, the the villains, I guess you'd say, of this movie. Three Fingers is scary. His laugh is scary to me. A lot of times sounds are scarier than like visuals and stuff for me. So if it's the right kind of sound, I'm gonna be scared. And his laugh just is pretty scary to me. Um, I will say though, because like this movie started a franchise, and
Yeah, there's like
it,
7 of them, isn't there?
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's seven, and I
Far too
know,
many.
yeah, I know that people, like, I've heard a lot of people don't think the first one's the best one. They think
Hmm.
that some later ones are. Usually it's like the second one is the favorite or something, but I really think the first one got it right, and after that they just slowly start to like deteriorate in terms of quality, at least for me.
Have you seen the
Um
reboot?
I did see the reboot, and I think it's pretty clear that that movie just used the name because it's
Oh,
not
okay.
really anything. Yeah. Oh, have you not seen it?
No, no. I've only seen
Okay,
the first
so
one, even. I haven't seen the next 6.
they're not very good. They slowly turn into out incest corn. I don't want to get too graphic about it on the. I don't want to get us in too
Yeah.
much trouble on this podcast. if we haven't already taken that route.
No, I think we're good still.
um, Swear words are fine. Just can't mention cornos. But yeah, the remake has nothing to do with the original in any way, and it could have been fine as a movie on its own, but it's just pretty clear that it used the wrong turn name as a means
Mm.
to like get itself out there. I don't really have too many like. I would like to include like a story or a memory about this movie and that movie. Um, I do remember having Wrong Turn on DVD, and I do remember watching it during a sleepover with my cousin. She came over and brought out the old DVD player because it was probably like 2004, 2005, back when DVDs were really relevant.
What year
Uh,
did that come out? I thought that was about the time it came out.
'03.
Okay, so yeah,
I'm pretty
close.
sure. I mean, I could be mistaken, but I do know I was in elementary school. So, but yeah, I just really enjoyed. Yeah, it's a 2003. You get this really cool shot through a peephole where, you know, the protagonists find themselves in the home of the cannibal family, and two of them hide in sort of a closet, I suppose, and one of them is looking through the keyhole. And it's a bit cheesy now, like to today's standards, but in 2003, it was fairly solid visual of you go through the keyhole to see the eye of the person who's watching her friend be carved up for Sunday dinner, you know?
Hmm.
So, I don't know. I really like that one.
I don't remember it that well. Like I remember cannibals, Eliza Dushku. I think she's in a tree at some point.
Yeah,
Um, that's about it. I think she survives.
yeah, yeah. Her and big spoilers here, I guess, but her and another guy survive.
Hmm. Beyond that, maybe I'll watch it again. I'll
Yeah,
add it to the
why do you
rewatch
not
list
remember any of my favorites?
because they're not my favorites.
Because I'm just not that into inbred cannibals. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what's next on your list?
Next, number 3, Evil Dead 2. And a lot of people say that it is a reboot of Evil Dead 1, and it is not. It is a direct sequel. They just remade some footage at the start because they didn't have rights to Evil Dead 1. So they couldn't do like the previously in the last Evil Dead, this shit happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then show the footage. So they had to recreate some of the footage. But the events of Evil Dead 1 are canon to Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
And then we pick up with Ash Williams, played perfectly by Bruce Campbell. He was possessed at the end, and now he's fought off the demonic force, and hilarity ensues. It's him in
That
a
is
cabin and some bumbling redneck and his girlfriend, and they're like financier or whatever are on the way to the cabin. And I could watch this movie 1,000 times a year. It is so much fun. When the fucking deer head is laughing and the lamp is laughing and he's going up and down with the lamp, like it kills me.
Yeah, I will say that the second Evil Dead is my wife's favorite, and just the Evil Dead series in general is some of her favorite movies. I like the third one the most out of the
Army of
OG
Darkness.
ones. Yeah, I think they just lean really hard into the comedy, and I know for the time that it was, a pretty scary movie, but I didn't watch them until just a few years ago, actually.
Mm.
So at this point, they aren't scary to me. Like, even the original is just pretty comical, I guess. Uh, so if you're not afraid of them and you already view them as just more on the comical side, then why not just go all into the comedy? You know?
That's fair. See, I thought Evil Dead 1 was like kind of scary, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It at least has some like more horror than the other two.
Yeah.
And then Army of Darkness is like full on comedy, just with
It
like
is.
skeletons and an undead guy. And then Evil Dead 2 is like right in the middle. I think it's like the perfect blend of comedy and horror.
Yeah, it's the happy medium.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you have 2014 and Rise later. But
How do you feel about those?
I love 2014. I think it is better than the original Evil Dead. I don't think it's
I
better than
agree.
Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness. But what was her name? Leah? Was that it? I
I'm
don't
not so good
remember.
with the names.
The main girl in that, she was awesome. And like at the end when she's fighting in the blood rain, that
Mm.
weird demon creature thing. And that shot when the chainsaw with like her bone arm is in it, and it's just I love it.
Yeah. It's pretty gory. They did good on the gore and stuff.
Yeah.
I was one of those people that did think of the second one as like a soft reboot of sorts. Only because like I guess I don't comprehend why he went back to that damn cabin if everything had already taken place from the first one.
He didn't go back. He was still there.
Oh, okay, okay, I getcha. But wasn't he there with his girlfriend this time? And the other, it was just him and his
See, that's what
girlfriend.
confuses everybody is because in like the flashback at the start,
Mm-hmm.
he only mentions his girlfriend. He doesn't mention the other people.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he escaped. He got a new girlfriend, even though the other one was viciously murdered. And then he came back with another girlfriend. She got possessed, so he killed her too and chopped her up. So it sounds like Ash is just some weird guy who brings girls to a cabin to get demon possessed so he can dismember them.
Yeah.
But in reality, they didn't have the footage and they didn't want to cast people to be the other friends again.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just like, it possessed Linda, and I had to chop her up with a chainsaw and bury her. And then when she like reanimates later, that's the same girlfriend from the first movie.
Okay. Okay. If any of the listeners were like me, that's a good explanation.
Yeah,
So were
Ash
you
isn't some weirdo that just lets
like
his girlfriends get demon possessed.
he's just some serial killer that's like, I swear they were possessed, and the whole time they weren't. But he's just like, no, I'm telling you, Judge, they were possessed. That's why I did it. So, were you also a fan of the series?
I haven't watched the series, which is weird because Samara Weaving is like my celebrity crush. So
Yeah,
she's in it. I'm a big fan of the franchise. It's just I don't sit down and watch TV shows often.
that's fair. Yeah, I know my wife watched it and she liked it, but I can't I can't give much aside from that because I haven't seen it myself either.
So, you got anything to add to Evil Dead 2, or do you want to jump to your next cannibal road trip movie?
Oh, I'm mixing it up. I'm
Oh
mixing it up
shit.
finally. Yeah. Next on my list is Nightbreed.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
different.
It
It's
is not
monsters
a.
that eat people.
Oh well, they
So
don't.
it's not cannibalism. It's still people eating.
Um. So we follow this man who essentially is being tricked by his therapist into believing this is a weird little B plot. I gotta say that I think the movie could have even done without the whole therapist and like that side of it and still been a solid movie. But the B plot of it is that there's this man and his therapist, psychologist, whatever he is convincing him that he's a serial killer, which actually turns out that his therapist is the serial killer the whole time. And this man is also having dreams of this place referred to as like Gideon, uh, or like the land of Gideon, or what have you. And the therapist is telling him, like, none of that's real. You are just basically gaslighting him into thinking that he's a serial killer so that the therapist can cover up his tracks. But turns out that the place is real. And not only that, but this place is inhabited by monsters, by people with differences. Uh, so you get to see some, you know, the main guy eventually does become one of the people as well. He becomes a night breed person, um, a night breeder. Is that what you'd call them? Uh, but you get to see some really fun monsters in this. Some are kind of cheesy, some are cooler than others. You get to see this whole like land that they live in that's in a like I guess you'd say it's like in a crypt of sorts because they're in a graveyard. Um, and it's just really fun to see like this whole otherworldly realm in which monsters live. They can come out at night. They generally try to hide themselves from people. Some of them can't be seen during the day, but I guess some of them can because you do see some of them out in the daylight, or at least
Yeah.
this one guy for sure. Um, and I don't know, it's just fun. It's from it's a Clive Barker film. I'm a big fan of not just not just Nightbreed, but like Hellraiser and a lot of his movies
Yeah.
and stuff. So, um, yeah, I don't know. The first time I saw it, I think I saw one of the creatures. I was with my younger brother, and it was laughable. And that's why I enjoyed it, was because this particular creature, I'm uncertain of the name of it, but
They're all based off lore. Like they're all Clive Barker's like interpretation of like werewolves and vampires and leprechauns and like things in the
yeah.
background. You can be like, oh, that must be like the fucking Babadook or whatever. Like
Yeah. Uh, the particular one, I wouldn't even know what you'd call it, but it kind of just looked like it was as if her head were not where a head would be. It was more in like the lower
oh
part of her
yeah, that
body.
thing.
And so she kind of almost looked like some giant turkey or like chicken or something, like just like a plucked like bird of some sort. And it was so silly at the time. And the first time I didn't even know what it was called. I was just watching it with my younger brother. We were kind of laughing at it. And then I found it on again and got to watch it in full. And I was like, I really like this movie. Like, it can be kind of silly with some of the creatures in it, but overall, I think it's a story of, these otherworldly kind of creatures just wanting to like live their lives in peace. And because they are different, uh, they aren't accepted into normal society.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I just really like that story. I like the movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I watched it for the first time last Halloween. So just a few
Really?
months ago was the first time I saw it.
What did you think of it?
When it started, I fucking loved it. I was like,
Hmm.
this is insane. This is right
Yeah.
up my alley. And
Yeah.
then it like kind of veers into like a more traditional story.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, it's still good, but it could have been so much more. Like all of fucking Clive Barker's shit. It's like,
Yeah.
oh god, you have a great concept. Why are you making it so fucking linear? Like,
Hmm.
go wild with it.
Yeah, you've got to if you've never seen Nightbreed, you have to watch the director's cut because they kind of butchered this film and made it. I don't know if I've ever seen the non-director's cut. Uh, I can't say, but I hear that it is just not very coherent. It
Hmm.
doesn't really get its point across, and I don't know. As someone who can't confirm or deny if they have seen the non-director's cut, I can just say that I've like heard a plenty that you should not watch it unless it's the director's cut.
I know I watched the director's cut because I watched it for Hooptober, and one of
Mm-hmm.
the criteria for it was watch a movie with two cuts.
Oh,
You can watch either cut, but I saw Nightbreed had a director's cut where I hadn't seen it. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch this fucking director's cut for that Hooptober criteria. So I did look into the differences, and it seemed to be like you said, like to go with the director's cut for sure. Like,
yeah,
which that was on Tubi, so it's not like one of those that's hard to find.
yeah. I don't think. I mean, I really don't know why. It was like just cut to pieces, and because it's not like it makes sense if it's like something like Lord of the Rings where it's already such a lengthy movie that
Hmm.
they kind of had to cut it for the sake of time or something. But even the director's cut of Nightbreed isn't too terribly long, so I don't really understand what happened there as to like why they did what they did with the theatrical release, but definitely the director's cut is the way to go.
Oh, and the reason the doctor's in there, it's because David Cronenberg. That's why they put the doctor in there. It's like David Cronenberg wants to be in your movie. You put
Enough
you
said.
put a character for David Cronenberg in there.
Yeah. It could have been two separate movies that I think would have they would have both been good, but then they kind of meshed them together, which is still fine, you know.
Well, probably something like that because Clive Barker usually writes short stories, so he probably had two scripts that. It's
We're
like
gonna make
fuck
this
it.
longer.
So my number two, right? Yeah, my number
Yeah.
two, Mandy from Panos Cosmatos, my favorite Nepo baby. Um,
Hmm.
he God, his cinematography is on another fucking level. Um, so this is a revenge film with Nicolas Cage and Andrea Riseborough, something, the Academy Award conspiracy lady.
Hmm.
Um, and basically, Mandy catches the eye of a cult leader who becomes obsessed with her, and her husband Red has to try and save her, played by Nicolas Cage. And this movie, speaking of a movie that's two movies, the first half, you're watching a fucking art house love story with like some cult in the background.
Hmm.
The next half, you're watching a fucking pure insane action movie. And I almost didn't put this on here because it's a little less horror to me.
Hmm.
It's more like action thriller art house.
Yeah.
than horror, but everything labels it as such. So what can you do?
If you ask me, it ain't horror unless it's got cannibals.
Yeah, nobody eats anybody, and well, are them bikers cannibals? Those bikers might be cannibals.
Cannibal bikers, you say?
Yeah, have you seen Mandy?
No, no, I haven't, and I'll tell you why. I made plans with one of my cousins that we would watch it together because we hadn't seen it, and that was like 2 years ago, and we've still never met up to watch it. I thought actually it's strange that it's on this list because I think it was either earlier today or possibly yesterday where I was like, man, I think I'm just gonna watch it without him, and then if we do
Mm.
touch base and wind up watching, I'm just gonna pretend I'd never seen it. Like I'm just gonna lie to him and be like, "Yeah, man, I totally waited for you to watch it," but it's like it's been 2 damn years, and
Yeah,
I'm tired of not seeing it, so I might just do that, like just watch it and then lie about it.
it's so good. If you like revenge movies, if you like LSD laced with venom, wasp venom, high cannibal bikers, if you like Nicolas Cage downing a bottle of whiskey and then having a freak out on a toilet.
That just sounds like Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage, man.
Yeah, he was channeling his leaving Las Vegas performance.
Yeah.
um, there's Cheddar Goblin. Gotta love Cheddar Goblin. Um, it is, and it is the most beautifully shot movie, or one of them that I've ever
Hmm.
seen. The cinematography in this movie is insane, like
Yeah.
on another fucking level. Um, I won't talk too much about it since you haven't seen it.
No spoilers.
Yeah, it just shifts gears perfectly in the middle, like
Hmm.
a inciting incident, and then you're on another movie. And the first movie is good, but the next movie is amazing.
Yeah. I think I have seen just some still images from the movie, and oh, it's Nicolas Cage in a car. Seems like there's a lot of like pink lighting or something going on at the time. Uh,
Yeah.
so is that like does it use a lot of different colored lighting and stuff
Oh
throughout the
yeah,
story? Yeah, I
it
had thought
does.
so. Yeah. That's kind of all I know about it though.
It's great. You should watch it and then lie to your cousin.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian, if you ever watch this. I lied. But I gave you 2 years, man. Like,
2 years is more than fair for a movie.
yeah. Like, for all I know, he's already watched it himself alone. So, like, what am I waiting for?
Ask him.
I
Be
should,
like,
yeah.
hey man, is it okay if I go ahead and watch Mandy without you?
I don't want to seem lame, and he's like, I already watched it 2 years ago. It's like, oh shit, I've been waiting like a dork. All right, are we on to number ones?
Yes, you're number one.
All right. Uh, big old classic here. No cannibals. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't
Basic
know.
bitch. No,
I
I'm kidding.
know. So basic. I didn't really know. Like, I just said on my list that I wrote, Nightmare on Elm Street, but I could very well mean the third one
You're talking
because,
the Jackie Earl Haley
oh,
one, right? The
oh, for sure, yeah.
yeah, that
Um,
one.
No, the of course you got to go Robert England. He's Freddy. No hate to Jackie Earl Haley because like
Yeah, that
people
movie
shit all
wasn't
over
his fault.
him. Yeah, I was like he did his best, and I think he could have perhaps been decent if it just would have been a better movie altogether. Um, but yeah, the first and the third in my mind are pretty tied.
I
Uh,
love the third.
Yeah, a lot of times the third will kind of win out, but it just depends on the day. So I go back and forth on which one I like more. Um, I guess I'll give like a little rundown of it. I feel like pretty much everyone would know what Nightmare on Elm Street is, but you follow this group of high schoolers, mainly Nancy and her friends. Johnny Depp's in the first one. It's one of his first acting roles. Um, and
Patricia
they,
Arquette's in the third.
yeah, yeah, it's got some notable names in it. Um, but they soon find out that there is something in their dreams that can kill them. And when you die in your dreams, you die for real. So basically, the plot of the movie, just don't go to sleep. But it is just overall a terrifying concept. And when, I don't know, when you get like the discussion of like the big three for like, slashers, which is typically Michael, Jason, and Freddy. I think hands down, Freddy's the scariest. I know he can get a little comical there at the end of the franchise. He starts getting real punny. Um, but just conceptually, like I'm not gonna go to a summer camp. So, and especially I won't go to, Crystal Lake. So I'm good as far as Jason's concerned. Michael, he stays in his little town as well. So Freddy's the only one that poses a real threat to anyone and everyone because everybody has to sleep. Like it is a terrifying concept, even if you aren't afraid of the Nightmare on Elm Street. It is kind of dated, I get it. But just the thought of something like some sort of demonic presence that can torture you and kill you if you go to sleep, something you do every day or every night, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, and it's such an original concept.
Yeah.
Like, he reinvigorated slashers. And then he did it again with Scream.
Yeah, yeah, you got to give it to him. He's an OG for the horror genre.
I definitely prefer 3, but the influence of 1 can't be denied.
Yeah.
Um, I agree. He is far more terrifying than Jason or Michael. I
You
used to
say
say I
that while
liked Michael
wearing a
more.
Michael shirt.
Yeah, yeah. I have a Freddy shirt. You want me to go change?
Yeah, we'll do like a clock swipe thing in the editing.
But no, he does get a little goofy, but goddamn Michael got thrown in a wood chipper by a geriatric. So
He also got into like
that's
a kung fu fight with Buster
Buster
Rhymes.
Rhymes.
So
God, those movies went to shit. I'm not saying there's not some stinkers in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I definitely think Freddy's Dead is a low point,
yeah.
but nothing compared to what they did to Michael. But I do think 3, New Nightmare, and 1 are better than anything that Halloween has to offer other than the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and better than anything Friday has to offer other than Jason X.
Hot take.
And Jason X is better than all of them.
Oh God, I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest Friday the 13th fan.
Me
Which,
either. That's why I love Jason X.
yeah. Well, that is the most what's the word I should use? That's the biggest outlier in the Friday series is Jason X.
It's the dumbest one.
It's got a really cool kill in it though.
It has several.
Yeah. I
It
just
has the
think,
best comedy too.
yeah, I think the dry ice
Yeah,
kill is very well known.
and you could tell that Damien was like, "I'm gonna up the ante in Terrifier 3," and it's like, no, the subtlety from Jason X was just so much better.
Yeah. That's another one I haven't seen is Terrifier 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Um, I I like Art in Sienna a
Mhm.
lot, like enough to be like, I don't care if there's no plot. And I kind of like that there is no plot because you start adding plot to these things and it kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nightmare is definitely a good number one, even though it doesn't feature a road trip or a cannibal.
That's the only thing it's missing, you know?
Yeah. Um, Freddy versus Jason has kind of a road trip. They have him
Yeah.
sedated in the van.
Yeah, cuz they knew that's what it needed.
Yeah. They're trying to course correct both franchises.
Yeah, not enough road trips. So,
Yeah. Need some
it
cannibals
also
too.
has it also has Kelly Rowland in it. So,
It
I
does.
guess they couldn't spring for the biggest of the Destiny's children, but they did get one.
And watch this. It also has Catherine Isabel, who plays Ginger in Ginger Snaps, my number one.
Oh shit, segue into your number one. We're already pros. First
Fuck yeah.
episode and we're already pros.
Yeah, Ginger Snaps is my number one.
Solid.
It's about two sisters that are like alt, I guess you would say these days. Like they're obsessed with death and they just fucking fantasize about dying. And
Relatable.
they encounter what might be a werewolf, what might be a dog, and Ginger's bit, and it's called Ginger Snaps. So you do the fucking math. Um, but the I, I have a theme too. Apparently, the way this thing shifts tones
Mm-hmm.
is. Have you seen this one?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's it's amazing. Like it starts out as a dark comedy, and then it turns into like coming of age, and then it turns into family drama, and then it turns into horror, and then it goes back into dark comedy, and then it's like an erotic thriller for a minute, and then it's a full blown fucking horror werewolf movie. It's
Yeah.
insane.
It's like the number 5 of horror movies. A little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's like why do you need any other movie? This has it all.
Yeah. I will say I saw Ginger Snaps Back, the sequel, before I saw Ginger Snaps.
Weird.
Yeah, it was on Sci-Fi one night, and scrolling the old TV, and I happened to catch it on, and then I was like, I think at first I didn't even register that it was a sequel because it wasn't
Mm,
like it's not like it's like Ginger Snaps 2 where it's super obvious that it's a sequel. It's like Ginger
yeah.
Snaps Back could just be a weird title for a horror movie. Um, but then I did, later find out that it's a trilogy. So
It
I've seen them
is.
all.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that third one's weird. It's
Yeah. That there's like one super fucking cool scene in the third one, but that's literally it. When she's like cloaked up and like half werewolf and all the wolves are like coming out and she's like petting them as they go.
yeah.
That scene is sick, but
I haven't seen it frequently enough to recall much of it, except that it, I guess, takes place in like the 1800s or something.
it's one of those weird ones where it's a prequel and it's like their ancestors, like Ginger and Bridget's ancestors from the first one.
Oh, I thought they just kind of retconned everything and basically did their own thing
Oh, I
with.
took it as ancestors, but you might be right.
It's so strange, we don't even fucking know.
Yeah, it's not good. Like YouTube that
Yeah.
one scene, like Ginger snaps the beginning werewolf scene, and that's all you need from the movie. Two, I kind of like, I kind of hate.
Hmm.
I like how Bridget is like addicted to Wolfsbane now to like
Yeah.
keep it at bay,
Hmm.
and like that little girl that is a sadistic fuck. She's a cool
She is.
character. And
Yeah.
the ending's like kind of cool, but I don't want that to happen to Bridget after the events of the first one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like you've been with her through two full movies, so you do get a little attached to her, and she's just cool anyways. Like even if it was
Yeah.
just one movie, like she's a cool character, so you don't want to see anything bad happen to her. But
It's an interesting ending, and like, I guess if you have to do a sequel, a cool direction to take it, but I think one and done would be better for that.
yeah, yeah, I would say so too. But perhaps had there not been a two, I would have never seen one because I saw the second one first.
That's true.
Yeah, which I could tell there was like there's enough mentioned in Ginger Snaps Back for you to kind of be like, did I miss? Like, I remember being like, did I miss something? And like, kind of wondering if there was like a previous film.
Hmm.
Uh, and I don't know if that's what caused me to like look into it or if I just realized it later on or something. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like for them to have ended two the way that they did, which I don't like, you don't want to get into spoiler territory, but for them to have ended two the way they did, and then do a third one where they're like, meh, it's the 1800s now, instead of like
Right.
explaining what the hell happens to Bridget and stuff, like, I don't know. It kind of feels like they're like just dangling a carrot or something in front of you, and it's like,
Yeah. And like the first one was just using lycanthropy as an allegory for puberty.
yeah, really well done.
And then it devolves into all of that, and it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and at least the second one kind of had the social commentary to it where they used the wolf's bane and Bridget's necessity for that
Yeah.
uh, as like commentary on addiction and stuff. That said something, but then the third one is just, I
I mean,
don't
wouldn't it be
know, like
cool if it was the 1800s with werewolves?
it. You know, if it was its own thing and not part of that franchise, it could have been kind of cool.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
1800s werewolf movie, sure, but it doesn't make sense. Well, as far as our lists go, do you want to? I don't know. I don't totally remember what were your ginger snaps. Give me a rundown of your five, and I'll tell you which one's my favorite from your list.
One was Ginger Snaps, two was Mandy, three was Evil Dead 2, four Freaks, five Blair Witch Project.
Oh, by far my favorite from your list is ginger snaps.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Do you?
I,
Okay, well, it was your number one, so I would think. At least mine were in no particular order, so it's like I could say that you know. Um,
my favorite from your list is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
you're like I don't even need to hear the rest. It was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, easily. I like Nightbreed a lot,
Hmm.
but if it would have kept the same fucking tone at the start throughout the movie,
Yeah.
that'd be like my favorite movie of all time.
Shit.
But it played it too safe. I wanted them to get fucking weird with it, and I understand. I'm in the minority. A lot of people don't want their shit to get too weird,
Hmm.
but no, I like Malignant when she starts fighting backwards in the police station and like
Yeah.
doing Matrix shit. I'm like, oh my god, I'm in. Um, So I wanted more of that out of Nightbreed. So
Yeah.
since I didn't get that, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Fair. So our favorites from each other's lists were what we labeled as number one.
Yep. So that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. All right.
Mandy, I have ranked higher than Ginger Snaps on my Letterboxd. I've been
Mm-hmm.
thinking about changing it forever, but in particular for horror, like I said, Mandy to me is more revenge thriller.
Yeah.
So talking exclusively horror, it's for sure Ginger Snaps, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of swapping them too because Ginger Snaps just gets better every time I watch it.
Yeah. It still holds up really well to be. I don't know. It came out in the early 2000s. I'm not sure exactly what year, like
I think it was
2002.
2000 on the nose.
Oh, really? Yeah, and it still holds up. It's still solid.
Yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street still holds up after 40 some years.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly think even like the graphics or whatever you would want to call it, the special effects for it and stuff, they did so much of it like it was just practical effects, and I feel like that helps. Like if they would have take like Hellraiser from the 90s, they get some kind of cheesy stuff because they went the
Yeah.
route of like not doing everything practically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it helps that Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty much, to my knowledge, just all very practical effects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Practical effects will look as good as they do at the time forever.
Mm-hmm.
CG, that shit will get upgraded and just look like shit eventually. Like
Yeah, it
even these
always
Avengers
ages.
movies in fucking 50 years, people are going to look at them and be like, God, that's such a fake fucking Hulk. Like,
Yeah. I mean, some people are shitting on some of Marvel's CG stuff now. Like, what was it when Doctor Strange had like was it a third eye or just one eye or something?
a third eye, yeah.
Yeah.
And Cavill's mustache and just Justice League.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all we got this week. Thanks for listening. Feel free to come back next week or follow us on our socials. I'm at Real Dumb at TikTok, and that's about all I use.
And I'm Piper Purgatory on TikTok as well. And I'd like to add, don't feel free to listen to us next time. You better listen to us next time.
So demanding.
Yeah.
And also a shout out to our friend Gabby, who is Evangel on TikTok. She did our theme, so thank you very much, Gabby.